Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Coach Holt joins as we bring you lots of great Dodgers baseball here on Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, fans, we have a great show today. We're going to go down the farm. We're going to talk about Ryan Ward, Bobby Miller, Kyle Hurt. They are in Oklahoma City tonight. Super excited about that. We're going to talk about Kyle Nevin, Nick Biddison. Hey, JakeGelof hit one to the moon last night. We're going to talk about that, Patrick Copen, and more. So we have a great Down the Farm segment. But before we do that, hey, we're going to get the wonderful thoughts of Coach Holt, and we're going to talk about a great game last night for the Dodgers. Hey, the Dodgers people have been, what's going on with the Dodgers, this and that. You look up, and yes, it hasn't been great all the time. Last 10 games, you're 6-4. You added a game to your lead last night. You now have an 8-game lead in the NL West. So really, it's just baseball, right?
As much as everybody loves it, we love to hate the Padres. Thank God they've lost 5 in a row, so we've actually increased. We've increased our lead. They lost 5 in a row as of last night, so that we've got an 8-game lead now. And isn't it great to have struggles, Case, and still have an 8-game lead? That tells you several things. Tells you just exactly how potent, how great a team the Dodgers have, that they can struggle and still. Again, you got to give the Padres quote-unquote credit for losing 5 in a row, but they still have an 8-game lead after that. And it's just baseball. Yeah, there's nobody on this earth that is stupid enough to think Mookie and Freddie, Ohtani, those guys aren't going to continue to hit. It's a 162-game schedule. They've had a horrendous road trip, a long road trip. I don't care who you are, how great a shape, how great athletes you are, which these guys are. You're going to have struggles during the time. Every team goes through it. Every player goes through it. So it's just our time to do that. And we've got an 8-game lead while we're doing it. Pretty nice.
My dad taught me a long time ago. You mention my dad all the time on these podcasts. Pretty smart dude, right?
Yes,
he was a Big 8, Big 12 official for many years. Actually, it's called National Championship Games. So, yeah, pretty smart dude, pretty high-level sports figure. He's going to be in the refereeing Hall of Fame here in Oklahoma here before too long, and they actually, I think, are going to change the rules to get him in the Hall of Fame while he's alive, which is going to be super exciting.
Yes.
Usually you have to be 5 years out, but they're going to change that for them. I say that only to say, Dad taught me a long time ago, there's 2 kinds of work, right? There's physical work and there's mental work. There's also 2 types of fatigue. There's physical fatigue. There's mental fatigue.
Yep.
You mentioned, hey, these guys are in the greatest shape of all time. They're not necessarily physically tired. Now, they're not like spring chickens. Don't get me right. I've talked to several guys who have played professional baseball, very good friends with them. My best friend on the world, Eddie Daves, was a professional baseball player forever. They'll tell you after about 6 weeks, you can't really feel your body, but you just kind of get used to that feeling, right? But so there is some physical fatigue, but what we've seen from the Dodgers is more a mental fatigue thing.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, there's no way you can't have that Case. I mean, the NBA calls it load management.
Yes, right.
And you do get that. There's a lot of, they've been criticized for that when people are paying $300 for a ticket and they go to LeBron set and he's over on the bench just kind of chilling out. There's been some critique on that, but the reality is those players have to have that. And the Dodgers, I know, I haven't studied the lineup every game, but I know Dave Roberts has that where he's giving these guys days off every chance he can, especially the catchers are going to get some time off. And you just have to. There's no way you can't have the mental fatigue. It's just these guys are not superhuman. They're super athletes and super skilled in what they do, but they're not superhuman where you can't have that mental fatigue. And that's a big one. That's even for us as teachers and high school coaches, Case. We've gone through it. I was a high school principal and athletic director. Been there. I don't care in little old small town, wherever you are, or big city LA. At the top level of a major sport, you're going to have it.
Yep, 100%. Hey, I gave Jerry Hairston Jr. a standing ovation in the pregame show yesterday. Sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Okay, he mentioned with Mookie Betts, he's not getting the top hand through the baseball, right? Okay, well, top hand, thinking top hand is I don't know. I don't know if I want to use the term old school, but new school guys, you really hear, hey, top hand, right? Top hand, right? Yep. So the way that I term it, just so the newer school people won't go, ooh, like that, I term it as turn the barrel. For some reason, when you say turn the barrel, that's okay. But if you say, hey, get your top hand working, then that's not, right? It's just interesting how that works. So, hey, he said that the top hand wasn't working as good as it needed to for Mookie Betts. I say turn the barrel with that top hand, right? I thought that was just fantastic analysis of exactly what's out, because that top hand, Coach, that bottom hand is your steering wheel. The bottom hand is what gives you your accuracy. The bottom hand is what takes the bat to the ball. So if you're not accurate, it's a bottom hand problem. But the top hand is where you gather your power, right? So if you're hitting pop-ups and things are lazy, it's always a top hand issue. You're not turning the barrel properly, snapping the top hand, whatever terminology you want to use. I just thought that was just world-class analysis by Jerry Hairston Jr.
Yeah, and he's an old school guy. I mean, he's a major league player that God knows what he's talking about, and he turned like you. We all have a term there. The bottom hand. Hey, take the knob to the ball.
Whatever.
Always take the knob up to the baseball. We've all done those drills, T-work, soft toss, short toss, whatever the case may be. But yes, that stuff that happens to everybody, and it can happen to a world class player like Mookie Betts and not even really realize it. He could just have something. He could just have something, a little injury. Nothing's going to keep him out of the game, but something that man, wrist don't really feel. He can just change something, and he's human. He's close to superhuman, but he's human, and you're going to have that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's great analysis by Jerry Hairston Jr. And that's why he's where he's at. And that's why he was a major league player.
I thought it was interesting that Kirsten Watson also said this was a must win. I mean, that's like a taboo. You don't say must win, even in the playoffs, unless obviously you're against elimination, because the reason why you don't say that is if you say it's a must win and then you don't win, now what, right? Okay, but I thought that was interesting. There was more to that. And what that actually means is, hey, there are periods of your time. We always talk about this. Yes, it's 162. Yes, you have to be even keel. It's a marathon, all that. But there are periods of time where you have to generate and manufacture kind of some emotions, if you will. You have to manufacture a sense of urgency. And I thought that term must win last night. Obviously, she got that from somebody in the clubhouse, right? And I think they used that term just to artificially inject a sense of urgency.
Yeah, I agree. They're on a losing streak. If you look at it from that point, okay, we're on a losing streak. Yeah, it's a must win. But it's kind of like guys used to say, I've got a 5-year plan. No, you don't unless you got a 5-year contract. Everybody says that's why you got a 5-year plan. If you had a 2-year contract, you have a 2-year plan. So it's kind of the same type deal. It's kind of what's in the moment. And at the moment, you can look at it and say the Dodgers was a must win, and they needed a win. There's no doubt about it. But must win out of I don't see that in 162. If it's game 5 and you're down 3-1, yes, that's a must win. You don't have any choice, do or die. But that's fine. I mean, people are talking, and that's okay. And they got to fill their airtime with something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Coach, let's get into a difficult conversation. You absolutely nailed it on the head when we talked about when the Dodgers first came out and said the 150 at bats for Gavin Lux. You immediately said, "Hey, yeah, that's just kind of a ballpark. If he's doing okay, they'll extend that, and they'll extend it to 170. Then if he's doing okay, then they'll extend it to 2. We don't know exactly. That 150 is just kind of the guideline of which they gave Gavin Lux to figure it out. So, all right, in the late, he's over his 150, right? And in his last 30 games, he's hitting 243, OPS 653. Not terrible, not great. At the same time, MiguelRojas, last night, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs, 287 on the season, 790 OPS. Last 7 games, 360, OPS 887. Last 30 games, which is 78 at bats, that's a pretty good sample size, Coach. He's hitting 282. So, tough conversation here, man. What do we do there? I mean, I know that you can think long picture and all of that, so you don't have to immediately do anything, but where is this headed?
Well, as long as Muncie's out, it's just going to keep going the way it is. Until Max has already come back, there's not going to be much, But then there's a tough conversation being had, when Max gets back and what you're going to do. Then what are you going to do at second base? And Rojas, I mean, we're all in the camp. We all love Rojas. We love Lux. I mean, it's nothing there personal about that, certainly on our end of it, and certainly not by the organization. They're going to give Gavin every opportunity, but we've seen him do it on the major league level. I think they're going to give him a little bit more rope. But, Outman hadn't been there long enough to have that, to have that sample size. That's kind of why he's back down AAA. We hope we can get him back at some point. But
he's raking, by the way.
Yeah, that's all. I saw him make some great plays. Stole a ball in center field. He'll be back. He's too good not to. He just needs to get some things lined out. But Gavin's getting better. And yes, there's going to be a tough conversation had when Max Muncy gets back and is healthy. Then now what do we do? Because Rojas is playing so well. You just put him back on the bench. That's tough. That's a tough thought, especially you're still in a race. It's an 8-game lead, but that can change. Dodgers, could lose 5 in a row. And the Padres and the Giants are right there too. Giants and the D-backs. They're not out of distance yet. We know the D-backs have a really good team. We know the Padres have a good team. And the Giants aren't bad either. So there's nothing. 8 games sounds pretty good, but that could go away pretty quick. So there could, when that time comes, there could be some situations, some decisions made there. But I still think it's great to see that Lux is making some movement forward, because that wouldn't be a very tough conversation if he wasn't. At this point, like, okay, see you later. Rojas is going to short and Mookie back to second,
or vice versa.
Just Rojas goes to second, Mookie stays, whatever. So that's why those guys get paid a lot of money. Case, we can sit here and speculate, but at some point they're going to sit down in the office there in L.A. and go, "Oh crap, now what do we do?" But not really. It's not going to be bad no matter what you do. Let's face it; these the guys we're talking about outside of Mookie, they're not the big guys up top. Their guys going to be hitting the bottom of the lineup and doing that. So it's a tough conversation, but it's not something that's going to make or break the team, I don't think.
So every starter had a hit last night, 14 hits in total. 7 of those, exactly half of them, were extra base hits. Only scored in 3 innings, but hung the 6th spot and the 4th spot. But I don't like the fact that the Dodgers, they exploded in 2 innings, only scored in 3 different innings. I don't necessarily, I don't like that, because I think that creates wild inconsistencies. Hey, it's a hell of a lot of fun when you're scoring 6 innings.
Yep.
But what happens when you're not, right? Okay, so that part of it, that's a total nitpick. I get that. But,
right.
But it is what it is. Having said that, the couple of things that I really, really liked about the Dodgers offense, Coach, at any level, even the professional level, as professional as these guys think, when you get a lead, when you start the game off and you score first, it's amazing how much more you win games. So I love the fact the Dodgers came out and started fast. First 4 hitters got hits. Obviously, FreddieFreeman had the big home run, gave the Dodgers the 3-0 lead. And then also, so there's 2 big things to me in offensive baseball. One is you start out fast. I like to play small ball, score that first run, get the lead. And then when the other team scores, answer. If you can just answer the other team and stop that momentum, I can't tell you how long that goes, how far that goes to winning games. And then also at the bottom of the lineup, we saw a sacrifice bunt from Austin Barnes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of long-term things last night that go to winning games.
Well, jumping on top of any level, Case, that it puts some pressure on the other team. If you're a base stealing team and you're down 4-0, kind of takes that out of the game. You like to, on a high school and college level, if your team likes to bunt and run a lot, you really can't do that a whole lot when you're down 4-0. So it's like when a guy shows bunt, your infielders all panic. The guy, the manager, me and you, and the dugout, get in there, the guy can bunt, get in. So then the guy's batting average goes up because your infielders are coming in. It's all the same thing, just perceptions and the way the game goes. Yeah, if you can, we saw it even here in the NCAA regional we had here in Stillwater. Case. I know you were there and I was there. Scoring first is big. When you don't score, it kind of gives the other team a shot in the arm and takes them out of your balloon and your fans. And we've seen that right here and that. And it's the same way at the professional level, getting on top. And the teams, even though they're professionals, they play all the time. I'm down 4-0. It's a different ball game already, and we're in the bottom of the first.
Absolutely. Another thing too is if you have this big scoring opportunity, even if you only score 1, then it's kind of like a letdown, right?
Yes.
So it was really big that Freddie finished it off with a home run and capped it off with a 3 spot, right? So like if you get 4 or 5 hits and they walk a guy or 2 and you score 1 run, you kind of leave that inning without momentum, right? But the fact that Freddie finished it off, I thought that squarely put that game on momentum side for the Dodgers.
Yeah, we'll see a pitcher pump his fist. Again, I go back.
Yeah.
I'm just mentioning the college regionals. I sit there and watched them on 2 eyes. Base load, nobody out. You get 1 run. Guy's walking off the mound like that. He's only gave up 1. That was a victory for him. So you're right, absolutely right.
So the Yankees are next, Coach. Yankees this weekend, starting tonight. First in runs scored, the Yankees are first in RBIs, second in home runs, fourth in batting average. I think Dodgers fans would be surprised to find out that the Dodgers actually are second in batting average of all of Major League Baseball. So they've done a good job of having good batting average, drawing walks, and then also having slug. I know, hey, we're old school, man. Dodgers, Yankees, it feels like they're in the World Series. They weren't, but it feels like they're in the World Series every year, late 70s, early 80s. It felt like, hey, Vin Scully, Joe Garagiola, we got to hear them call every single one of those games, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, right? Hey, this goes right straight to our hearts as baseball fans and Dodgers fans, doesn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt. Being Dodger fans, Joe, I'm pumped. I'm getting chills thinking about it. The Dodgers, Yankees in Yankee Stadium. I mean, just if you're just a baseball fan and can't stand either one of them, you're going to watch this. It's kind of like, I get tired of watching the Yankees and Red Sox all the time, but I can't take my eyes off of it because it's a great rivalry. You got Yankee Stadium, you got Fenway. It's the same thing. If you're a baseball purist, a baseball fan like we are, that's the type of stuff you look forward to as a Dodger fan. I love it. I can still hear Tommy Lasorda out there cussing and Billy Martin, cussing everybody, and Reggie sticking his butt out there on a double play ball. Bill Russell hits him in the butt, and everything that goes on with that. And Thurman, I mean, it's just a great history for us old Dodger fans. The great history of two great organizations, and it's exciting, man. I mean, and the great part about all is right in the world when the Dodgers and Yankees are both in first place in their divisions, and they're playing in the Bronx tonight. And I can only imagine what's being said out of the stands towards the Dodgers. That's a lovely part about it. That's a great part about it. You're playing in the Bronx. Dodgers going to hear some stuff they hadn't heard in a while, probably.
Absolutely. And hey, man, if you're mentally fatigued, you won't be whenever you get into the Bronx because you'll get woken up real fast.
It'll be like a playoff deal. The Dodgers are going to walk in there, and if they were down a little bit, when they walk out there, the packed house, and you don't hear all the accents and the stuff being said at them, and you look over the New York Yankees are over there. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to be excited.
I hope they talk some smack to the Rook, Andy Pages, because I promise you the dog in him will come out.
Yeah.
If they talk smack to Andy Pages, he will turn into a dog.
That's what we want.
Absolutely.
We always love the pretty ball
I hope
players.
they piss him off to no end, man. I just hope that happens. I want to see that.
We all love the pretty boy players. We Dodgers have got a lot of them, but to do what you want to do, you got to have some dog in you. It doesn't matter. It's like a football player. See those offensive linemen walk out of the locker room, the three-piece suits on and everything. That ain't why they're getting paid big money. They're dirty. They're dirty. Not trying to injure people, but dirty, down and dirty when it has to be. We call them dirt daubers in baseball back in the old days. And Casey Porter have dirt all over him. He stop, he'll spill a snow cone down the front of his shirt or a Coke every time we stop. That's my dirt daub and third baseman right there. That's the guys you're looking for.
Dairy Queen. Yeah, that was right when they came out with blizzards, right?
Yes. We never had a road trip.
Somewhere in the middle of Kansas, we have no idea where the hell we're at, right? We thought we were going to win 2 games, and come to find out we faced 2 major leaguers that were bumping 98, right? We're like, where the hell are we at right now?
We took 2 beatings and went to the Dairy Queen. That's how that works.
Absolutely. And had a hell of a good time doing it, right?
Get your cat and go get an ice cream and watch Casey spill it down the front.
Absolutely. Okay, man. Hey, a little bit more somber of a note. Walker Buehler, 3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. What's intriguing to me, we see this all the time. We saw it with Noah Syndergaard last year. Hey, yes, the velo is above 97 on the 4-seam. That's great, but it wasn't in zone. He only threw his 4-seam for a strike 41% of the time. It got hit. The average exit velo was approaching 100 miles an hour. The 2 best pitches he threw last night? His sinker and his cutter. We talked about Mookie Betts, that top end. Sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same, Coach. Hey, man, and it's right now, Walker Buehler, last night especially, movement is what's actually more successful for him right now than straight velo. Turning the ball right with the sinker, turning the ball left with the cutter, that east and west, if you will, that's the best version of him right now. Now, having said that, the high riding 4-seam, the knuckle curve, all of that, in a month or 2 might be the best version of him. So it's kind of a battle, in my opinion, between, hey, what do you need to do right now to be successful right now and still work towards the best version of Walker Buehler for the playoffs? It's kind of a battle right now, I think. At least that's what I see. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. He's trying to get a feel for those other 2 pitches. But like you said, he's already showing, let's face it, a cutter, that's a devastating pitch. We saw Mariano Rivera dominate people for years with one pitch. If you are worried, if us Dodger fans, if we have been worried about there's a losing streak, we're not hitting, blah, 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 and you have all these problems, forget about it. I'll use a Yankee term. Forget about it. You're going into the Bronx tonight playing the Yankees, and all is well in the world. The Dodgers and Yankees are on top of their division, and two of the storied franchises in the history of baseball, and can't wait to watch it. And like I said, any Dodger player that was feeling a little bit down, they're going to be pumped when they walk in here tonight. As well, they should be. Again, it's a 3-game series. It's not a make or break for the Dodgers, but it sure is exciting to watch.
Coach, it's been a lot of fun. Great to see you again. Always great to see you. I love you.
Love you too.
So, hey, go Dodgers tonight. Going to be super excited. And we'll see you next time, man.
All right, Case. Thank you.
Hey, fans, definitely don't go away. Now we're going to bring in Austin Brubaker, and we are going to talk all about the action in the Dodgers minor league system. We have a great show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about Bobby Miller and Kyle Hurt coming back and pitching for Oklahoma City. Tonight, we're going to talk about Ryan Ward and how he has been absolutely raking. We're going to talk about, Trey Sweeney, the left-handed hitting shortstop prospect in the Dodgers system. He has been just absolutely raking the ball lately. Going to talk a lot about the Great Lakes Loons, Kyle Nevin, how he's been hitting the ball very well lately. JakeGelof, we're going to break his swing down and kind of show you how and why he creates so much power in his swing. Also going to talk about Patrick Copen and Juan Alonso. So we have a great show for you. So with that, let's bring in Austin Brubaker, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. Austin Brubaker joins now as we take a trip down on the farm. Austin, haven't seen you for a bit, so how have things been going?
Things have been going good. I'm really happy to be back here. Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Excited about the show today.
A lot of great action down on the farm. We're going to get right to it. And as we always do, we're going to start in Rancho Cucamonga. And we're going to start talking about a guy we have never really talked about a whole lot here on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Who you're seeing here is a guy who has 4 hits in a row, a young man that has kind of very compact power, if you will, a good athlete, an outfield type prospect for the Dodgers in the system, Juan Alonso.
Yeah, really intriguing guy. Just shows the depth of this system that you have a guy like Juan Alonso that even us, we haven't really talked about him a whole lot at all. Really interesting skill set that he's got to can play all of the different outfield positions out there. He's hitting the ball pretty well this year with a 111 WRC plus at Rancho. So far, his power is just increasing just a little bit as he has become a little bit more accustomed to Rancho. Spent 38 games last year through 46 games. The ISO has doubled. His strikeout percentage has been cut down a little bit. He can draw some walks. He's got a good skill set. And when you can play all 3 different outfield positions, he's very athletic, too, which is another skill set that the Dodgers can continue to tap into, and especially if he's able to hit for more power, which I think there is some good power potential in there. You're looking at a really intriguing outfield prospect in Juan Alonso, so definitely keep an eye out for him.
I would definitely agree with that. He's a guy that, he's been fairly high on prospect lists in the past, but for one reason or the other, he's still in Rancho and still grinding away and starting to play a lot better offense. I know 4 hits in 4 games in a row. So Juan Alonso wanted to make sure and cover him and get you a little bit more familiar with him. Hey, the guy who got to start last night for Rancho Cucamonga, another great start for Patrick Copen.
Yeah, another great start with Patrick Copen. He just continues to go out there and just be rock solid for this Rancho pitching staff. His season statistics are absolutely there with the ERA and the mid-3s with some of the underlying statistics backing it up. You can see the wicked stuff that he has. When Patrick Copen's on the mound, you feel good about Rancho's chances during that game, or at least their ability to stay in the game, and he just goes out there and performs.
He absolutely does. Last night, 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, no runs, gave up just 3 hits and 1 walk. ERA on the season for Patrick Copen is 3.43, and on the season, he has 48 strikeouts and 44.2 innings. So it has been a breakout year for the young man out of Marshall University who got drafted last summer. Put on about 15 pounds of really good weight, has increased the velo, continued to master the mix. So very excited about Patrick Copen. And as we now move to the high A Great Lakes level, I bring you back in here, Austin. The video is on both of us now again. So, hey, we do this every single time. I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I'm going to go ahead and let you take over the Great Lakes part of the Down on the Farm show.
Okay, first, before we get started with that, you might notice I'm wearing a little bit of a different hat right now. This actually is not a Great Lakes Loons hat. This is a Beloit Sky Carp hat, and that is because the Great Lakes Loons right now are in a deep playoff push for the first half. It is about 2 weeks to go. And not next Thursday, but the following Thursday, the first half winner will be decided. And right now, the first place team, Lake County, is playing the Beloit Sky Carps. I actually did something similar 2 years ago. I wore funnily enough, a Cedar Rapids Colonels hats when the Dayton Dragons were in first place and they were playing the Colonels. And Austin Chubb, the manager at the time for the Loons, took notice and kind of laughed about that. So I'm trying to recreate that magic right now. But last night was a really good night for Great Lakes. They were playing aforementioned Cedar Rapids Colonels, the team that they faced in the Midwest League Championship in 2023. And it's great to see their offense come back. And there is three different guys that hit home runs yesterday, one of which he actually also made a phenomenal catch during that game, JakeGelof. JakeGelof hit a monster home run early in the game, and I love to see the confidence that he is swinging with, particularly during this week. I know for basically all of the different guys last week, it was a little bit of a struggle. As you can see, the home run that he hit last night, and it was not a cheap home run too. That is a one bounce and on the Buttle Street type of home run for JakeGelof. And not only that, but the defensive play that he was able to make during the game, absolutely phenomenal. Love the confidence that he is starting to play with this week, which especially for a team that really struggled offensively last week, it's just great to see just the confidence building and growing for him. And it's not just growing for JakeGelof, it's also growing for some of the role players on this team, including Nick Biddison. Biddy is starting to hit bombs, and as Brad Tunney, the play-by-play announcer for Great Lakes, would describe it, Biddy bombs are coming for him. And I love the at-bat that he had late in the game when he did hit a home run, because there was, I think the first pitch of the at-bat was a close inside pitch that the umpire called strike. I don't even know what the situation was. Nick Biddison was not really happy about it. So a couple of pitches later, he got a pitch that he could hammer, and he just took all of his anger and frustration from earlier in the at-bat out on that baseball, was able to hit it out. Also had another RBI single to extend the lead from 1-2, which was a really good, important cushion for the Loons to have. Nick Biddison is starting to play really well.
He absolutely is. Let me back up and let me get back to JakeGelof's video from last night, and let me show you something that I really wanted to get into about his swing and some of the stuff he does and some of the reasons why he has so much power. Let me get this. Give me just a second here. Let me get the speed down to a quarter speed, and let's get back to the end of this. Now watch this. This is JakeGelof's swing. See that stretch? See how he loaded into his back hip? Now I talked yesterday how James Outman had his knob pointed more back to the ground because he was trying to keep simple. But that most hitters in today's day and age, they like to get that stretch. They like to walk those hands away from their body to give them that rubber band effect, if you will, to create torque. Like torque is momentum in opposite directions, and then whenever we release that momentum, it's like a rubber band. It starts flying, right? So hitters like to create that torque. One way they do that is that their front side comes this way, their hands go that way, so you're creating momentum in the opposite direction. And so I say that to say, usually that knob at the end of load is pointed straight down at the catcher. You can see right here that JakeGelof squarely has his knob pointed almost behind the catcher, right? That's the kind of stretch that he creates. So he creates a lot of stretch in his load. Then right here, as you look, as he lands, okay, he has a lot of, that back hip and your core right here, that's the strongest part of your body. That's where all of his weight is at. Now, what I want you to watch from here, since he has put all of his weight in the strongest parts of his body, he's created the torque by walking his hands away from his body as well and pointing that knob to the catcher and creating that stretch. Now what I want you to watch is the amount of forward momentum that he creates in this swing. Watch this. Wow, that is incredible. That is incredible, the amount of forward momentum. And you say, well, yeah, it's head moves. That's fine. As long as the head's moving forward, it's not changing planes. So that really does not affect the way that you see the baseball. Where you have a problem is whenever you dip underneath the ball and then your head actually changes planes by going down. That's when it changes your depth perception. But when your head is just simply moving forward, that doesn't change the plane of the baseball, and you can see he's right on it, and that does not affect his vision whatsoever. That is an incredible amount of stretch and power that he created in his load, combined with the way that he was able to finish his swing to and through the ball with the forward momentum after he got the stretch going. That is one of the most powerful setups and powerful swings I have ever seen right there.
Oh, it produces absolutely massive power, as you saw during the game yesterday when he was able to hit it onto Buttle Street. Just absolutely phenomenal for Jake Gelof. His second home run, I believe, this week, starting to heat up a little bit. And if he can heat up for this offense, that's just going to provide so much depth to this Loons offense as they are getting back on track from last week. So great to see for Jake Gelof, great to see for Biddy, for Nick Biddison, and also the other guy who hit the home run yesterday actually had 2 opposite field extra base hits. Kyle Nevin, just phenomenal stuff. He's another guy that has tremendous power. As you can see, the opposite field double right down the line, just great for Kyle Nevin. Really underrated power for him too. We saw a home run earlier this season in Wisconsin that the light poles that they had out there hit probably 3/4 of the way up that light pole, which is not a cheap home run at all, because that light pole was far beyond the left field wall out there in left center field. And as you can see with this one, not just pole power, he also has opposite field power. Great to see for Kyle Nevin.
Yeah, and the thing about him is that he uses the opposite field so well, and he's really kind of different than Jake Gelof. He's a lot quieter. He doesn't quite get the forward momentum. He's a little quicker to the ball. He's not trying to hit the ball 900 feet and as hard as he can every time he swings. He definitely is a contact-oriented type setup as far as his swing goes. So right here, and we're going to put this on a quarter right here and analyze Kyle Nevin. See, as you can see, the stretch isn't quite as much. As I back that up, let me show you kind of what I'm talking about with the way that he loads right here. The stretch, not quite as much as Jake Gelof. You can see now, watch the head. The head does not move at all. His head literally stays in the exact same spot the entire time. And there's a lot of linear aspects to this, meaning just point A to point B. So that's why Jake Gelof does a great job of staying inside the baseball. He's very direct to it, but yet he still has power within that setup. So that should be a guy that is able to hit for average and consistency, but then also hit a home run every now and then, right? Gelof's a guy that's going to hit home runs that can also hit for some consistency, kind of the exact opposite of each other, getting into the same type of results. Now, I will say this about Kyle Nevin. With all of that efficiency that he creates in his swing, you can see just how simple that is and how quiet that is. He does have one blind spot, and that is up in the zone. He's a taller guy, and so that pitch that comes up around above the belt, maybe letter high, maybe just maybe half a baseball above his hands, that pitch looks really good to him. And he has a hard time laying off of it, and he has an even harder time hitting it. So I think if Kyle Nevin, like so many hitters in the game of baseball, if he can figure out how to not swing at that pitch up in the zone, that's going to make it to where he's really a great contact hitter and a guy that hits for contact and power.
Yeah, I think that combination is going to be really great for Kyle Nevin as he goes forward, as he works to make those adjustments. I think you're going to see the growth and development and just the maturity of him as a hitter as he goes forward. there are some other great performances, some guys that we talk about quite a bit, like Chris Newell, who is putting up numbers to where he possibly could be well deserving of a call up pretty soon. I know Brad Tunning was talking a lot about WRC plus and the numbers that the Dodgers really like that statistic, which is good because we talk about it quite a bit on the show, and he's putting up numbers to where he's well deserving of a call up coming up pretty soon. We'll have to wait to see when that does occur for him, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when at this point. And a couple of other performers that played really well in the offensive side. Pitching side, you got to give it up for the maturity of Jerming Rosario, who has pitched really, really well. Had a rough outing in Wisconsin. Other than that, it's been great performance after great performance after great performance. Last night was shaky during that second inning.
It
the
sure was.
Cedar Rapids Colonels were exploding, especially early in the count, on a lot of Jerming Rosario stuff, and they were just being they were being aggressive. They were also just putting the baseball into the gaps, getting some of those base hits, extending it to extra base hits, stealing bases, and you feel like things are falling apart after the Loons took an early 4-run lead, gave up 3 runs to that inning, ended up pitching 6 innings, which is rare for Jerming Rosario. 6 innings, only giving up those 3 runs during that second inning, and settled down so incredibly well. The growth and maturity that he has been throughout his journey as he's been on the Loons for the past year or so has been so incredibly impressive. He's able to get some swing and miss. He's also able to get some weak contact as well. So even when times get rough, even when it seems to be falling apart, Jerming Rosario has a lot of maturity and a lot of growth as a pitcher. And this is the type of stuff that you want to see, not just dominant performances.
Correct.
But what happens if things start falling apart, or you might not have your best stuff during the inning? How can you be effective for your team? He showed a lot of maturity and a lot of resolve last night.
I would agree, because he's a guy we've always talked about. He has the top end stuff, and when he's on, he dominates. But hey, what happens when he's not on? In the past, things would blow up on him. He'd give up 5 or 6 runs, maybe go like an inning, maybe 2, and that would be the end of it, right? So I thought last night in a lot of ways showed more growth for Jerming Rosario than most of his outings, or any of the outings really that I have seen to this point. So I was super proud of him. I think I know where you're going next, Austin.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got to also talk about the other 2 pitchers that were on the mound as well, starting with the guy that took over for the 7th, also pitched the 8th inning as well. This is Kelvin Ramirez on the mound, and he just goes out there and has been so incredibly consistent. Past couple of outings before this one, gave up some hard contact. I know he gave up home run in West Michigan or 2. Last night, that didn't seem to bother him as well. And one of the best pitchers in the Midwest League at this point in 2024 went out there and showed why he is one of the best pitchers in the Midwest League. Absolutely settled things down and left no doubt that the Loons were going to win last night, pitching 2 innings, the 7th and the 8th, without really any trouble, any damage at all.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kelvin Ramirez, he's been a guy I've mentioned a couple different times on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network that we dropped the ball on him, because he simply has been one of the most in the entire system of the minor leagues, the most dominant relief pitchers in baseball. He has been that good. So Kelvin Ramirez had another really good night last night. I think I know where you're going next, Austin.
And then you got to close it off with the guy who finished it off, Michael Martinez, on the mound. Went out there, gave up a couple of base runners, but really was settled down. And I love the growth and maturity from this guy, who missed the entire 2022 and 2023 seasons, hadn't pitched for the Dodgers since 2021. But now that he is back after an early kind of rough start, and even through some of the command issues that he's been dealing with, last 9 outings, I believe he has an ERA of 0.96, under 1. He's been effective. He's gone out there and he's found ways to get swings and misses, as you saw during this plate appearance right here. It hasn't been a ton of swing and miss stuff, but I think that stuff is growing as he gets more comfortable with the level and as he gets more acclimated to pitching again. went out there last night and just closed the door on the Colonels. Great job for Michael Martinez, who has been an underrated guy in this system and for the Great Lakes Loons pitching staff.
Absolutely has been. We're going to move now to a guy that is one of my favorites, Ryan Ward. Hey, this dude right here, we're going to go ahead and bypass Tulsa. They didn't play last night. They are going to play a doubleheader today. They are in Midland. They were in Amarillo, and Amarillo had rain all night last night. Hey, Ryan Ward, don't forget about this guy. This guy has maybe the best hit tool of any of the minor leaguers when you talk about power. This is a bona fide, certified power hitter in Ryan Ward that can also approach 300 with a batting average and be a guy that I think could go under 20% in a strikeout rate. As a matter of fact, he only struck out one time his entire senior year in high school. Only Bryant Bulldog ever to hit 400 for an entire season. Back that up the season after that by hitting 386. Home run number 16 for Ryan Ward. This is a guy that, hey, in years past without injury would have hit like 290 with 30 home runs, right? So home run number 16 for Awardo, 296 batting average. So there you go. Approaching 300 with 16 home runs. OPS 1059, hits in 10 of his last 11 games. He's 12 for 24 and 20 for his last 43. Ryan Ward, he's finally healthy. He wasn't healthy much at all last year. He got hurt earlier this year. He's finally back. He's finally healthy, doing what he does and raking.
Oh, he absolutely is raking. He's raking at a level that, frankly, is far and beyond what basically anybody else is doing in minor league baseball. And to put this into context, and this is a guy that perhaps you had given up on in Ryan Ward, which I don't know exactly why you would give up on this level of talent. Let's look at minor league baseball players with over 100 plate appearances. And the reason why I'm doing that right now, that gets rid of some of the guys at the complex level, which complex level numbers are a little bit hard to look at as far as drawing conclusions for that. But AAA baseball, you can probably draw some conclusions, or at least some meaningful conclusions for that. Ryan Ward, first in all of minor league baseball in slugging percentage, and it's not even close. 752 right now. Second person with 100 plate appearances and slugging percentage, 694. That's over a 50-point gap for Ryan Ward in slugging percentage. What about ISO, which is another measure for power? 444. Next closest, same guy, 376.
Which
not
means
even close
for that to be
those.
a good trade-off, he could have a 44% strikeout rate and still have a good power to strikeout ratio.
It is absolutely unbelievable, and he's not striking out 40% of the time. He's striking out less than 25% of the time. The amount of power that he's able to generate, which, yes, certainly does help when you play in places like Albuquerque, but to have that large of a gap between you and the next person, that is legit. And he has a WRC plus over 150 right now. He's going out there and just being absolutely an incredible power hitter, one of the power hitters that you don't even think of, yet he'll go out there and continue to hit home runs. He is a guy that the Dodgers at this point, because of what he's doing and because of the power that he's able to generate, the Dodgers better be looking out for this guy, because they have an absolute stud in their system and a guy that you might not think is a huge power hitter. Yet, if you look at the numbers, there's no denying the power that he can generate.
Absolutely no doubt about it. Hey, James Albin had him another sweet catch last night up against the center field wall. If you want to see that, I have it on all of my social medias. The next guy that I wanted to go to, kind of in the same category of Jerming Rosario, and that is Ben Kasparius. If I can get to his video right here from last night. Here it is, Ben Kasparius. Hey, first inning, I think it was, walk 3 guys, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, here we go, Ben. You can see it's a doubleheader, so there's absolutely nobody there. There was more people there for the second game, although Oklahoma City, in my opinion, needs to do a better job of having better attendance. They have just such wonderful athletes that play there, and it's a great brand of baseball. So Ben Kasparius last night walked 3 guys and then didn't give up a run, right? I mean, because he hit 97.4. Check this out, though. Not just the velo, Austin. his spin rate on his fastball, over 2,500 RPMs. Okay, like that's elite. Okay, over 2,300 is really good. When you're approaching 2,600, you're like the best in the game, right? Over 2,500 on his spin on his fastball. So the spin rate on his fastball, so it's going to look faster to the hitter because it has more carry. It's going to decelerate less. Over 2,500. That's why now he has margin for error, so he can go out and not be perfect like he was last night and go 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 3 strikeouts, and then those 3 walks that I talked about. So kind of in a way, it was an outing to where, yeah, not perfect because you had the 3 walks all in the same inning. You don't like that, but you do like the fact now that you saw Ben Kasparius has the ability to have margin for error. That's big.
Yeah, that is really big. And just the maturity for him as he moves up to that next level, as he has moved up to Oklahoma City. And even when things aren't perfect, similar to Jerming Rosario, he's able to go and find ways to get outs, to perform well for his team. And I think you saw a lot of that growth and maturity for Ben Kasparius, who has been pitching really well for Oklahoma City, the baseball club, to this point with a ERA in the mid 3s. I think you're just going to continue to see him get better and better as he gets more acclimated to the level, something that is part of his history as he's come up. He did this in Great Lakes. He did this in Tulsa. And I think you're going to see the exact same thing for Oklahoma City before we eventually see him at the major league level.
Totally agree. The guy we're going to finish with tonight on their Down on Farm segment, this is Trey Sweeney. Hit a grand slam last night, and it was opposite field. And Sweeney had a double in the first game, doubleheader again. He had a double in the first game, and then a grand slam in the second game. He now has hits in 13 of his last 14 games. So Trey Sweeney is heating up. He also has 8 home runs. That's the one thing. How much? There's his grand slam there. How much power can he generate? Well, how about home runs in 8 of his last 11 games? He has 10 RBIs in his last 11 at bats. So he's driving in runs, hitting home runs, getting hits. He's 12 for his last 29. I think you know very well that I love the left-handed swing of Trey Sweeney.
Yeah, it is really good. And you're just starting to see him just get comfortable to this point. I know the start of the season was, he started off towards the beginning of the season well, then things kind of slowed down, and then you saw some of the WRC plus numbers dip for a little bit. With the past couple of weeks that he's had, it is right back up to a 100 WRC plus, because since May 21st, he has had a 189 WRC plus, an ISO of 509. He's hitting for a ton of power recently, hitting 351 during that stretch with power. You're seeing Trey Sweeney go out there and emerge, and especially because you're seeing him tap into that power quite a bit. This is something that we mentioned back when the Dodgers traded for him, just some of the power potential that he's able to generate with the sweet left-handed swing that he has. He can do a lot of different stuff with the baseball bat. Another good, solid, one of those upper-level shortstop prospects that the Dodgers have. You're starting to have a really good collection of shortstops for the Dodgers. If you're talking about Trey Sweeney, Alex Freeland, Noah Miller down at the high A level, that the Dodgers can feel fairly happy with this group, and especially with the way that Trey Sweeney is swinging the bat as of late. Grand slam yesterday. You can continue to see for Trey Sweeney more and more success, because I think that is the level of competitor that he has, and it's great to see him continue to have some success.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a call-up this year just because, hey, this Dodgers team's a pressure cooker, man.
Yes.
I mean, until they win that first World Series, it's going to be a pressure cooker at the major league level. So you'd hate to incorporate a guy like Trey Sweeney, who just came to the organization. You know, he played Double-A all last year, and then say, "Here you go, big boy, go play shortstop for this team."
Yes.
Right? So, not because I don't think Trey Sweeney's good enough, just because I think just the circumstances, this isn't the team to incorporate kind of a project, if you will, at shortstop from that sense onto this team. So I think his ETA is probably next year as we bring Austin back onto the screen. Hey, this has been a lot of fun, a lot of great action last night. Tulsa, a doubleheader today. Also, Bobby Miller, Kyle Hurt will be pitching tonight for Oklahoma City. So final thoughts.
Yeah, some good, exciting action around the system. I'm glad the Dodgers finally found a way to get back into the win column last night. I know it hasn't always been pretty recently, and they've been kind of in a rut, but it's good to see them get that win. You hope for some more success for them as they go up and really get a battle test versus the New York Yankees. Down on the farm, some really good, exciting action as we get down towards the stretch of the first half. You're seeing some playoff races, so you're cheering for multiple different teams, not just within the Dodgers organization, but if they are not in first place, you're cheering for some of the teams that are ahead of them. So even though we're
unless it's Dayton, not cheering for them.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, not it's kind of hard to cheer for them, but you're cheering for teams, especially like Great Lakes, like Beloit this weekend, South Bend with they're playing West Michigan, and with some of the other levels, there's a lot of baseball to keep an eye out for. So it's fun, exciting times. Yes, it is playoff season, even in early June for the minor league levels. And even if it doesn't work out during the first half, even if they don't make it in clinch the first half, they still got the second half. There's still a lot of baseball left to go. We're starting the summer. It is great to have baseball here, Dodgers baseball throughout the system, and good competitive baseball. And great to see, as you had mentioned towards the end of there, guys like Bobby Miller and Kyle Hurt working their way back. Some really talented guys throughout this system still working their way back. Hope is not lost. Dodgers are still coming. Keep fighting, even when things seem dark. Keep fighting, and eventually, I think with the system that the Dodgers have, good things will eventually happen.
Yeah, and just to kind of explain what Austin's talking about with the first and second half of the minor leagues. So when the minor leagues does it, if you win your division in the first half, you automatically qualify for the playoffs. But because there's so much roster turnover, instead of making it cumulative for the year, if you can either win your first half division or your second half division. So as far as the divisions go, the records completely start over for the second half. That way, if a team rolls over an entirely different lineup in the second half, they're not penalized for that. So if they had a good lineup in the first half, that qualifies them for the playoffs. So you can make the playoffs either by winning your division in the first half or the second half, and then they play it out at the end of the season. So it's been a lot of fun, Austin. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.